Number 11, New Year's Eve in Times Square. When I was 14, I visited my Aunt Alice and my cousin Kevin in Haverstraw, New York, across the Hudson River from Manhattan, over a Christmas school vacation. This was probably organized by my mother and my Aunt Alice to get the cousins together. My aunt was remarried to Phil Mikowski after her first husband, Leo Donahue, Kevin's father, died. She was the elected assessor for the town of Haverstraw. She and Phil frequented the local Haverstraw taverns, and on New Year's Eve, there was an unorganized adult pub crawl schedule. Kevin was an only child and about a year older than me. He was a surly bastard. We argued and fought whenever we were together. In anticipation of New Year's Eve, I had been asking Kevin how to get to Manhattan. With his mother, he had taken the bus over and was somewhat familiar with the trip, but was really afraid to do it on New Year's Eve. His group of friends with whom I joined out were also chicken to go to Manhattan on New Year's Eve. I was determined to see the ball drop and be part of all the craziness of Times Square on New Year's Eve. I figured that I was so close, how hard would it be to go the remaining relatively short distance? Well, the evening of December 31st arrived. Alice and Phil walked down the block to Ernie's Tavern to begin their celebrations about 8 p.m. Kevin and I and company started prowling around the small Main Street area. There was a community hall with refreshments and a phonograph with music available, but it was loaded with old farts and we left. I continued to work on Kevin and the others to take the bus into New York City. By then I knew the bus schedule. Finally, Kevin agreed. The others chickened out. We went to Ernie's to check in with Alice and Phil. To cover ourselves for a few hours, we told them a cockamamie story that we were going to one of Kevin's friends' parties. We left on the Manhattan bus about 9:30 p.m. We arrived at the Port Authority bus station a little after 10 p.m. and walked a short distance to Times Square. It was, as my sainted Irish grandmother would say, grand. I was more familiar with Times Square than Kevin because of my previous New York City Christmas vacation with my brother. I was also more of a city kid than Kevin was. Kevin was more suburban. The place was hopping and very cold. Live music blasted out of the Roseland Ballroom and the Metropole Cafe. Great jazz musicians played there like Coleman Hawkins and Roy Eldridge. Across the street was Jack Dempsey's restaurant with the Champ sitting right in the front window. The place was jumping. Jimmy Ryan's jazz club was nearby and the Blarney Stone west a few blocks. People were packed into the arcades, the delis, the souvenir shops, and of course the bars. The lights in Times Square were so bright as to seem like daylight. The noise and the smells and the sights of Times Square on New Year's Eve were vibrating and breathtaking. Horns bleating, cops scolding, women singing, outdoor vendors cooking, women complaining, subways rattling underfoot, women laughing, hawkers hawking, sirens wailing, prostitutes offering, pickpockets reaching, scam artists scamming, newsboys extraing, and taxis offending. What a place! The crowd got so large that we were being crushed as we waited for the ball to fall. The countdown started and we got ready to rush for the last bus to Haverstraw. We joined the crazy shouting and singing of Old Lang Syne and soon fled back to Columbus Circle in the bus. We made the bus and arrived back in Haverstraw about 12:45 a.m. We were nervous that Alice and Phil would have missed us, but they were soused when we got back to Ernie's. We were never missed, and no adult ever knew about our Times Square adventure until I just spilled my guts. Please do not tell my Aunt Alice or my sainted mother. Thank you for viewing or listening to my podcast episode. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, and if you so choose, I ask you to send a good review and perhaps refer friends who might be interested in this podcast series. Again, my thanks.